Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Alejandro Burgana. I'm the co-founder and managing director of OBE Power. Let me begin by apologizing to him and all of you for my late arrival. I got lost inside the hotel, so it took me a few minutes just to get to the conference room, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, thanks for your participation and your interest. We're here to share a little bit about best practices on EV charging. And just to begin, allow me to make a little bit of an introduction of who we are and what we do. So at OBE Power, we have the mission to accelerate the transition to clean and efficient e-mobility. And the way we do that is by trying to solve and anticipate the solution to the chicken or the egg dilemma, what comes first, electric vehicles or the charging stations. So the way we are trying to present a solution is by increasing and implementing and expanding a smart electric vehicle charging network at convenient locations where most people live, work, play, and learn. And we do that under the concept of electric vehicle charging as a service. What that means is that instead of doing what pretty much everyone in the industry is doing, which is selling or leasing charging stations, we're actually investing in qualifying and potential properties where we anticipate good levels of utilization. And we invest in the entire turnkey project that includes the electrical make-ready, the permitting, the engineering, the installation. We procure and provide the charging equipment. We bring our own technical platform that is open to both OCPI and OCPP charging stations, meaning that we can integrate charging stations from any brand, such as ChargePoint, ABB, Siemens, EVBox, etc. And we provide a financial incentive where we invest or lower the upfront cost of these qualifying properties. So we bring the charging amenity at no upfront cost to all of them. And then we secured a long-term exclusive agreement with these properties. So that allows us to accelerate the adoption or the expansion of the charging network, because we lower the entry barriers or the installation or the adoption of these charging solutions at these properties. And we make our money back by selling charging sessions and selling a little bit of advertising and subscription. So what we are about to discuss here today is some of the best practices that we have learned over the last 5 years of how to pretty much run an EV charging business from the lessons that we have learned after more than 100,000 charging sessions. So, and today we are getting a charging session in our network every 8 minutes. We have today close to 330 or 50 charging points in the state of Florida and Texas. And we secured capital recently to expand 10 times our network over the next 3 years. According as a Bloomberg New Energy Finance, we have also been described as the second largest owned and operated charging network in the state of Florida after Tesla. So we own and operate more charging points in the state than EVgo and Electrify America, which, well, EVgo is a public, $3 billion entity or corporation. And for us, being a small company, a startup, a small business, private company, we feel really proud about that. So with that, we can talk a little bit about the target customers and clients that we have in our network. So we work directly with municipalities, with Miami-Dade County, the City of Miami, City of Miami Beach, Palm Beach County, now with the City of Fort Worth in Texas. We also work with major developers like Property Markets Group or the related group, with pretty much all property management companies, and we deploy, again, stadiums, university, working with the Miami Parking Authority. So the idea is to continue identifying and qualifying locations that will offer a good solution to the drivers, a convenient charging location to the drivers, and at the same time will provide good levels of utilization. So before we begin talking about some of the best practices, allow me to ask who in the room is already driving electric or is thinking about that. So I can see that maybe half of you are already driving electric. And for those of you who are not driving electric yet, some good basic reasons. May I know why you're not doing it yet? Somebody wants to volunteer?
I live in Colorado, there's massive potholes and open drainage ditches, so I bought an electric car.
It's gotta be a truck, I assume, an electric truck for you, right?
Yeah, but how many electric trucks are there up there?
They are coming, many.
Yeah, I know.
The Rivian, Ford, GM, all of them. But actually, what we have learned by just asking these questions and reading the reports is that there are two major reasons why people are still not confident or haven't made the switch yet. First of all is price and availability of charging or electric vehicles. So those, just in 2014, 8 years ago, the cost of an electric car that will deliver more than or close to 300 miles was in over $100,000. Those were the Tesla Model S and pretty much, and then everything else will deliver between 150 and 200 miles per charge. Not enough. Today, thanks to advance in battery technology and the reduction of the cost of manufacturing batteries from $1,000 a kilowatt hour to less than 200. Right now, the average is about 180. You can lease an electric vehicle with an average price of 35, 40, 45 in that price range that will deliver between 250 and 300 miles. So there are many options. In fact, there are more than 40 alternatives of electric vehicles, brands and models that you can purchase or acquire today. True, they are not available. There is not an inventory at dealers. You need to pre-order them and wait for a few months. But yes, there are plenty of options today that you can do. So that's option number one. There is nothing we can do about that, but just wait for the mass production of more electric vehicles by all car manufacturers or OEM. But the second most important reason, the second biggest barrier to EV adoption is, again, the access to a conveniently located, affordable, and reliable charging network. And this is where we are actually trying to present and build a solution to accelerate that transition. So the second part of the question is, there is this misconception about charging an electric car takes too long. I believe that most of you will agree and think about that, it takes forever to charge. But let me ask you, do you think that DC fast or fast charging is better than AC or level 2 charging? And do you know the difference, AC, level 2? Okay. Would you think that DC fast is definitely better? What, you say yes? So people are, you see all the headlines in the industry about, chargers that are going from 150 kilowatts to 200 up to 350 kilowatts an hour. That's good enough to fully charge a vehicle in 8 minutes about. But reality is that not every electric vehicle is capable of handling that level of power input to the batteries. And at the same time, I invite all of you to think about these questions in a different way. Because when people are demanding, the market is demanding for faster charging, is trying to think or to compare the charging action, the fueling action, to when people go to the gas station. That takes 3-4 minutes to fill a tank. So if you are trying to analyze or evaluate the charging experience from the perspective of the pump, then you will find out that charging an electric car sometimes takes too long. But if we think about that in a different fashion, people on the left, they are charging at level 2. And people on the right, actually, I took that picture yesterday afternoon at the Fort Pierce gas station, where there is also plenty of chargers from both Tesla and FPL. People, the picture on the right are people that are charging fast, but they are sitting inside their cars, texting, waiting for that vehicle to reach a level of charging that will allow them to complete the journey or the trip. While people on the left, they're actually living their life while their vehicles are being charged. If we had charging stations here in this hotel, my car will be charging while we are doing this presentation and having this conversation. So the point here is that let's realize that cars spend like 80% of their life sitting on the parking lot. So this is the best time where you can actually plug in and fully charge the vehicle while you are living your life, whether it is playing sports, having a work meeting, or even sleeping and charging overnight and waking up every morning to a fully charged battery. In addition to all of that, actually, when you see the level 2 charging, that little icon on the left, it is the connection, the port, the J1772 port, which is universal. And it's good to charge any electric vehicle in the market, including Teslas, with the little adapter that comes with the vehicle. Now, when we move to the DC fast charging, actually, we have a little bit of a problem to solve here. We have 3 ports or 3 connectors. The Tesla connector, the CHAdeMO, and the CCS or combo connector. Tesla has their own, Japanese vehicles, including Nissan and Mitsubishi, that come with CHAdeMO, and everything else. Americans and Europeans use the CCS or combo. So depending on the brand of your vehicle and the make, you will have to choose from this station or that station. So that actually creates a problem that is not being solved in the next 3 to 5 years, until we find a universal charger that will be good for, or port that will be good for all electric vehicles for DC fast charging. Now, based on more than 100,000 charging sessions, hundreds of thousands of charging hours data that we have collected, and trying to compare all of that with data coming from study from McKinsey and Bloomberg New Energy Finance, the average charging session consumes 22.7 kilowatts hours. In level 2 charging, that takes about 3 hours of charging, and that's good for 75 miles of range. So again, people usually ask, well, I just got a Tesla that has a 100 kilowatt battery. So how long it takes to fully charge my vehicle from empty to full? And the answer is like, well, that situation almost never happened. I mean, actually, people are plugging in when they reach like 40% of battery capacity, and they charge up to 80%. And they are trying to, to move around city between 40 and 80%, charging on a daily basis at level 2 charging, and that charging session lasts 3 hours on average, regardless of the brand and model of your vehicle. We keep the data, we analyze the data, we're trying to see, well, what are the charging patterns of people who drive Nissan Leaf or Chevy Bolt versus those who drive, a Tesla Model S or Y? They are all the same. Everybody on average charge for 3 hours, and the energy consumption is 22.7 kilowatts an hour. That is consistent whether you are charging at the office, the university, at the hospital, or overnight at home. Same charging patterns. Then another typical question, when we are trying to conduct a negotiation about installing a new charging solution, let's say for a condominium or a rental community, then after they have approved and authorized the contract and the agreements and the terms of the business, then the next question is, well, how many charging points are we going to install here or there? The position from the property manager is usually like, well, we conducted a survey. We have 7 people driving electric today, and we are also learning that about 9 people are expecting to purchase or get their new electric vehicle in the next 6 to 8 months. So we need 15 charging points or charging stations. Well, I say, well, actually, the solution that we actually trying to present here is community charging as a service. It is meant to be shared. So the reality is that if we learn from the previous slide that the average charging session lasts 3 hours, it's usually we can see that as one charging session in the morning and another one in the afternoon. So the reality is that one charging point is good to be shared among 7.5 electric vehicles. And the picture that we have here is a dual port charging station. So that station is good to be shared for 15 residents in the same community. So all of them can share without friction, without competition, without having to discuss, oh, I need to charge now, get out of here. No. Actually, dual port charging session is good to meet the charging needs of 15 residents in the same community, or 15 employees in the same working place, or people that are constantly charging on a daily basis, on a regular basis to move around and to meet their commuting needs. So that's important in order to understand how big or small should be a charging project for a given location. Then another question, I think that in 2023 this is already obvious, but that actually was a big discussion a few years back. It's like, should I install dumb chargers which is simply an outlet with a port to connect your vehicle, or should I use smart chargers? Back in the day, the price difference was so large that some people were still saying, "No, I don't want to pay for that. I don't need the technology. What do I need so many reports? I just want a port to charge my vehicle, and that's it." Reality is that in order to have a good charging practice and operation, you need to have smart chargers that are cloud connected. And part of the solution we bring to the table to every single customer is the possibility to offer your drivers an app that they will use to find the charging stations, to make reservations, to get access codes, to pay for the charging stations, and even if all the ports are being used, even to wait list or reserve, or actually get a report and a receipt after every charging session. But then, in addition to all of that, the technology platform allows to provide each one of the hosts with a portal, a kind of a dashboard that, well, they will use to see how many ports are being used, how many ports are available, the level of power consumption. If you can compare the level of usage or utilization between chargers that are on the east side of the building versus the west side, you can use all of that in order to anticipate what is the optimal charging location and solution. So those reports even allow us to track savings in greenhouse gases, and even to compensate our customers, fleet managers, municipalities with carbon credit income based on savings on those greenhouse gases. We estimate or assign a value to every metric ton of greenhouse gases saved from the environment, and we share that revenue with each one of the hosts. Then this is a good representation of a typical location where people live, mostly, multifamily, condominiums, rental communities. We begin with properties that are big enough to have a critical mass of drivers and vehicles to justify the upfront investment. And with more people adopting and driving electric, then we are kind of lowering the entry barrier. And each one of these properties has more than 300 units. But now we are going down to 200, and that will meet the minimum demand to justify the upfront investment. And with the adoption of electric vehicles going from 5 to 7 in the coming years of new vehicles sold, then we can even lower that to maybe buildings with 100 units. So this is a typical representation of some of our locations of workplaces, places, customers where we deploy charging stations for the benefit of those who work over there. Same with municipalities, stadiums, hospitals. We're actually pretty good at delivering charging solutions to municipalities and fleet managers. So another incredibly important consideration, and I want to be very clear here, is that driving electric and charging an electric vehicle must be cheaper than driving on gas. And why do I say that? Is in this slide we have the cost per mile of driving a gas mobile or typical internal combustion engine vehicle at the average price of gasoline per gallon here today in Orlando. So the average is $3.40. And with that, and assuming that according to the Department of Energy and Transportation, the average fuel efficiency of internal combustion vehicles sold in the United States last year is about 24 miles per gallon. That gives us the driving on gasoline today cost about 14 cents per mile. Now, there are companies that are also offering charging solutions. One of them is Blink, for example. They are charging 49 cents per kilowatt an hour. And that is even more expensive than driving on gas. In our opinion, that is a terrible practice. You are delivering the wrong message here. They are trying to profit from pretty much those who are the early adopters and the people trying to drive electric. Then we have companies like Tesla. They have successfully deployed the supercharging network across the entire country. Actually, their charging solution is paramount, is the best in the industry. And they started at 22 cents, incredibly low, and even free charging when they were early in the game. Now they are charging about 41 cents a kilowatt an hour, which is equal to 12 cents per mile. That is assuming that any electric vehicle delivers about 3.4 miles for every kilowatt hour. And then this is our charging rate, our commercial charging rate, which is 36 cents a kilowatt an hour, which is equivalent to 10 cents a mile. So with that, people are actually saving 25% on fueling cost. And that's important, particularly for every driver who drives, I don't know, between 12 and 15,000 miles a year, or for fleet managers who are always trying to have like based fueling cost or save a lot of money in fueling cost. Well, this is a very effective way actually to not only help the environment and reduce your carbon footprint from transportation, but also to save a lot of money in fueling costs. So taking some of these lessons learned and best practices over the years, this is how we have achieved what we, as far as we know, is the highest utilization rate in the industry. So because when you are going to own and operate a charging network, it is all about the utilization, and the reason why is because since we are making our money back from collecting charging fees from drivers, we need to deploy at places where we are expecting good levels of utilization. And this is our average utilization year over year. When we started back in 2017 having 1 or 2% utilization, people call us nuts, crazy, stupid, everything, like we will never make our money back. But we knew that people at some point will start adopting and buying and using these electric vehicles, and they needed to charge. So today our average utilization, and by practicing this set of basic common sense rules of where to deploy and how many and what type of chargers, we have reached an average utilization of 11.3%, which is actually twice as high as the utilization from EVgo, which again is a public company worth $3 billion in the market today. So those are, with that level of utilization, we are able to make our money back in 3.5 years, and that is allowing us to pretty much get more access to capital to continue accelerating and expanding the charging network. With that, I believe that we conclude our presentation, and I'm open to questions about charging practices or the network or managing this charging business. Thank you.